blockbuster match. One chance, that's all they've got. NYXL put the foot down.
Boston Uprising just muscling their way.
Now Pine's starting to feel it. He's starting to flex on these nerds right now.
Boston storming back in again. Impressively done.
And NYXL coming out on top in a lot of these engagements.
Boston resoundingly winning that fight.
Oh man, that's so spicy. And they bring it home in style.
With a banger, it's Boston versus New York in your final match. Welcome back to the Blizzard Arena, everybody. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, and I'm joined once again by our full analyst crew. We got Bren, we got Crumbs on his very first day working in Overwatch, as well as Zoe, and we have already seen two fantastic matches. We're now getting into a third. Before we move on to this third match, Zoe, you're just joining us here. Thoughts on what you saw from Philly?
Poco. I had not have him like anywhere in my mind. I was thinking of the DPS from the team, of Boombox, like all those names popped up, but Poco wasn't one of them. So his showing there really impressed me, mostly in the direct comparison Bren showed us against Kuma. That's definitely something I didn't expect.
France
So,
fielding,
great surprise.
France is fielding a lot of fantastic players into the Overwatch League. Let's break down today's schedule, though, as we take a look at our full day. If you missed the early action, don't worry, the bots will be going up online. But it was the London Spitfire taking down Florida Mayhem, who struck first in that series. You just saw the conclusion. Philadelphia Fusion, they missed preseason, didn't matter, they show up, and the upset, that's in quotation marks that you guys can't see, against the Houston Outlaws. Now we see the final match, Boston Uprising versus New York Excelsior, and it's time to intro our first team to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the Boston Uprising. This Boston squad went 1-1 in the preseason, and they definitely mentioned that this is a squad in development.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, when Huck was building this team, the president of gaming himself for Boston, he mentioned that he wanted coachable players. That's everyone on Boston Uprising, really. These young, underdeveloped players that are going to be developing into a very cohesive unit in terms of their team play, in terms of their raw mechanical skill, and that is the name of the game. We saw some very early signs of life from them in the Shanghai Dragons game in the preseason when they came out 3-2. So they've had a good showing in the preseason. I'm curious as to how they're going to do later on in these matchups.
Yeah, I was really impressed with their mechanical skills during the preseason. Teamwork, coordination, and game plan has lacked a little bit, but they've been practicing harder than any other team in this league over the break. They didn't go home, didn't take a single day off. They have been on it constantly, have more scrim blocks than anyone else. The coaches and players, they just have overall great work ethics, and that's something all the other teams here really respect.
Man, Huck is cracking the whip. Even Shanghai took 2 days off. All right, well, shout out to Boston. They felt underprepared in the preseason. They are ready to shine today, but they're going up against a squad that dismantled them during the preseason. It's time to introduce their opponents. Give it up for the New York XL. The first time around, we saw New York coming to the stage and impressing, and they did it without their full lineup.
And right now, the guy that's coming in is Jonak. I mean, if you like Zenyatta and you watch Zenyatta highlight reels, Jonak is on your screen 24/7. The question is, can he bring that to the table now? And if he does, he's going to be up against Striker, who's going to have him as his major target.
Yeah, and now with him being back in the game, that means that Pine can focus on the DPS role, and that also opens up Libero. We saw him as a support player during preseason, and let's say he was passable, but kind of meh. But his deep hero pool now opens up a lot of wacky strats for this team with his Hanzo main, his Mei play, and his just general great sense of team compositions. And that makes this team very hard to practice against, to play against, because they have a lot of options.
Yeah, if anyone's been on Reddit recently, you've seen the plays from Jonak, right? But Libero, we didn't get a chance to really see him outside of a little bit of Pharah play in that DPS role. And talk with Monty and Doa, this is the one player they are super high on. They said he is arguably the most versatile player they watched while in South Korea. Let's talk big picture here, Bren, as these two teams are matching up. What individual battles are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so I'm in particular going to be paying attention to, I guess, Striker versus Albi. And it's an interesting one at that, because Striker was one of these players that everyone was really rating coming into the league. A lot of pro players were saying that he's actually one of the best players on this Boston Uprising roster, but he's up against Albi. And this guy is a veteran. He's been playing Overwatch for God knows how long now, and he absolutely does do a tremendous amount of damage, amount of work on that Tracer role, so it's going to be tough for him. And you can see these are the preseason stats. And Striker actually edging it out a little bit. They've got very, very similar sort of play time, but weapon accuracy, Striker coming out on top, pulse bombs attached, as well as hero damage per 10 minutes. And it looks like Striker will be coming out on top here. However, I still believe that Saebiolbi will be having a better performance in this match.
I think he will have a better performance, but not on his own accord, though. You've got Jonak, that champion on Zenyatta, rather hero, switches everything because Orb with Discord on the Tracer, immediately you win it, then Discord on top of it, it will never be a fair 1v1.
Zoe, what are you looking forward to in this matchup?
Honestly, like, I don't really have too much to add to what the guys just said. I just want to see that whole dynamic of Boston Uprising, because I feel they have skilled individual players, but together, throwing players such as Libero into a team like this, which gives him that support so he can really shine in his role, and that's really what all those players do for each other. I think that's going to be very interesting to see.
I'll tell you what, if you guys watch the preseason, there's one guy to look out for, and that is Pine for me. He was amazing on the Widow. He even played support for a while. What is he going to be able to do today for the New York XL? This is going to be a great matchup. It's time to get the official predictions before we send it to our casters. And I want to start with you, Zoe. Does Boston get revenge from the preseason when it matters most? Do they win now here on day 2?
No. I don't know.
Give me some numbers. Give me
All
some
right,
numbers. How'd it play out?
I go with a 3-2.
3-2. We're going to a game 5.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I actually think this is going to be a one-sided affair. The
All
New
right.
York 4-0 on this one, because I felt like the weaknesses in the preseason were in the support role, especially allowing Striker to get into the backline, do too much work. Now that the support role has been reinforced, how do they do it? I don't think they can.
I'm going to be going for the 3-1, I believe. Boston, I do believe that they have the potential to take a map, but beyond that, New York Excelsior are probably going to be the more dominant team.
I thought you were going to finish there. 3-1 Boston. Didn't happen.
Oh, absolutely not.
All 3 of our analysts picked New York, and so did Mr. X. The Long Island boy himself said everything about New York is better than Boston, including all sports team and rap music. Matt would know, but it's time to send it over to 2 better casters. We got Semler with Hex.
Listen, Puckett, we all know that we can't measure up to you, but they needed the God tier host. They got you. It's perfect. You're still in it. But there was a lot of talk, about, oh, yeah, cool Jonak. And so where was the talk about Pine? That guy's a monster.
He's riding the Pine right now. Maybe take him off the bench for the next couple of minutes. I'm just looking really forward to this rivalry because it's a great sports rivalry. You've got Red Sox, Yankees, Giants, Patriots, and now you've got the Uprising versus the Excel. Dream Casper has been a diamond in this rough. I think that was a great pick for this roster to kind of kick it off. You can mold him into your image.
And I was so impressed with Striker in the preseason as well. I felt like he was just coming up with play after play, just the real playmaker for that roster. Now we're going to look at their opponents, obviously New York Excelsior. I mean, really a who's who. Saebiolbi seen as one of the best tracers in the world. Libero, the man who can do it all. There are a lot of tools here for New York Excelsior. So, I mean, it's tough to go against the desk. They're predicting New York. I mean, do you kind of side with that?
Kind of. I'm unbiased. I'm a caster. I don't have opinions that are worthwhile. My opinion is we're going to go to Junkertown, and I'm just wondering if we're going to see the old pirate ship.
That's a good question. You got teams, they've got a lot of experience now. Everybody seems to be trying to figure out how to deal with this pirate ship, and they all have their own approach. Whether you see Sombra hiding off in the cut, we've seen that in the past. We've even seen May trying to cut the team in half and knock them off the payload.
Yeah, there's a lot of different strategies to deal with it, so it's really going to be a matter of how these teams want to go for it. I don't expect Excel to do it, because it seems like Korean teams have kind of shied away from the cheese. They want to beat you the old-fashioned way with just my mouse movement's better than yours.
Yeah, the mechanics. I'm just a better player. You can do what you want, but I'm going to hit the shots. I mean, this is one of the maps that we really saw Striker stand out on in the preseason, though, for Boston. I really felt like he just knows what to do on Tracer. He's always in the right position. He knows how to buy the time. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him play here.
Right, but that matchup is going to be so difficult, even for a Tracer the caliber of Striker, because in my opinion, there's Tracers with different styles. Saebiolbi is the best anti-tracer in the world. He will put you in check. We saw it in the World Cup, and even if he's not going off and getting 3 kills in the back lines, your tracer will do nothing in that matchup.
All right, well, guys, it's time to get hyped because we are loading into the map now. We have the rosters that are getting set up as well. And do we have any kind of surprises here catching us off guard? I mean, it is a bit early to tell for Boston. Obviously, they can change it up. They're the attacking team. But Excel?
Defensively, this is exactly what you want. You do definitely want a Widowmaker on this map, especially first point at Junkertown. It's wide open. You're going to try to hit those grapple shots. Libero can play absolutely everything, so anything that he goes on is not going to be a surprise. Perhaps the Roadhog, but Roadhog Orisa has been such a staple combo today, so no big surprises out of NYXL. A lot of different styles on this map, and this is one of them.
Well, this is one way to approach it as well. Look at Boston Uprising. This is a beastly attack strategy that they've put together. The double sniper and the Bastion. I mean, that sends chills down your back. And I think Excel right now are going to be freaking out a little bit when they see this coming at them.
Yeah, it can be very good to crack those shields, especially with the Hanzo when he gets the Dragon up as well. This shield from Orisa is a very good one on the defense, but it's not going to last long against the power of Bastion.
Exactly right. So you have to focus on the Bastion, but then you have the two snipers that you have to deal with as well. You kind of get torn apart on the defense here. Split up, that's the whole point, because those shields are going to melt. But what a fantastic hook to start things off. At least they managed to put a little pressure there on Neko.
You need a little more follow-up on a Bastion, though. He's got that self-heal. He's such a beefy body that even when you get the hooks, your rest of your team has to help you out. Nico gets his revenge for that hook and takes down Meko. Arc will bring him back to life. And there is Striker. Sometimes a bow and arrow is better than a sniper rifle. I don't know what time, but apparently there.
It's just classier. You know, it's cool. Like, I actually worked really hard. Yeah. I have created this bow. No, that's Hanzo for you, man. He takes his time with it, but already, look at these kills coming through here for Boston. They have just gone unchallenged completely. Excel really struggling dealing with this offense so far. They're just getting picked off before they can even challenge the payload. That is a near flawless first point cap there for Boston Uprising.
They are taking it to them on Junkertown. They also even are getting close to a Dragon Strike coming in here. They've got tank mode coming up for Neko, and I just don't know if NYXL has what it takes to stop this. Now, a tire is on the docket here, so perhaps you can get that. That'll crush a static position.
I'm going to be curious to see how fast Arc can charge up that Valkyrie. Because he's at 80% now. I think this is going to be key for this next engagement. He needs to get that Val quick so that they have the longevity here. Try and hold out against all of this DPS, all of this damage that's on Boston.
They're staying on their composition because they want to try to crack these shields and make Neko vulnerable there. There also comes a tire in late to clean up anyone else. He's actually waiting, I think, to see if they're going to res that so he can kill it again. Does find a target in Gamsu.
Real clever stuff from Libero. That's what we expect to see. And at the choke, finally, New York Excelsior are able to put a stop, put a halt, take the wind out of the sails of that ship. And so now we're going to have the switch up here. Or well, he's been on Widow for a little bit, but we're going to get to see that duel. Straight up mano-a-mano versus Dream Casper. Both of them are able to see through walls, but Saviobi's holding on to his infrared for now. Yeah,
Casper is going to be able to get the better of it, but Saviobi not really peeking out there to give him that target. Don't want to lose that Widow duel early, and now they have to jump away from the self-destruct. Misses his grapple. Cost him his life.
You can just feel the panic. He's like, oh my god, I got to get out of here. Just couldn't do it. And that is two big kills coming through. The forces the Valk. Arc with the double res already, but that's just to get them up to even numbers. And now the real pressure comes in from Neko. He's got tank mode. He does tremendous amounts of damage with this, and we'll see. Maybe he gets the last pick. Not gonna need it. Striker's there to yoink it out of his hands.
And Striker's been a terror on this Hanzo.
That's right. That's like goodbye. Goodbye, defense. It's nice knowing you.
It was a good effort, I suppose. They have not been able to really dislodge them from the car. They got one kill on Neko early on, but that was it. They're not able to clean it up and even take positioning back. So right now, this is a blazing fast offense.
Now this is a fantastic run so far set up from Boston Uprising. Papa Hulk is definitely happy about that. And well, Papa Hulk, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, he does, no, never mind. So, moving on, we are going to have, I mean, Excel just trying to find some space here. They have to find an engagement that they can actually take, but again, they haven't even needed to go for a roster switch here, Boston Uprising. They're just content to sit with the double sniper still.
They throw the Dragon out. That might signal that maybe Striker's going to switch off on his next life, because I think a Tracer in this situation is really good. There's a nice flank to the back line there. Sabiobe also gets the better of Dreamcasper there. Finally, he gets a couple of kills in a row. This looks like it's finally going to be the stabilizing fight that the NYXL needed.
That was the longest hook of Meko's life. I mean, that was like an infinite chain. Where did that come from?
Sometimes it's just, I'm still caught off guard by how long the range is on that. And I've been playing this game since day one closed beta. It's just astoundingly long.
That is one of the most frustrating things when you get hooked. You're just like, how? Ah, nice work. Sabiobe giving him the butt.
And they got the damage boost on the ground too. That always helps out. Nice headshot will take down the tank there. So switch-ups do come in for Boston Uprising now that they go to the last point. Dream Casper, aforementioned, blown up right there, is onto the Genji. They're going to complement that with a Tracer play in Striker.
Now it's time for the dive. Time to get in there, in their faces, and put the pressure on Sabiobe if you can. Catch him out. That would be good. Libero there with the Junkrat. He's already used the Riptire though. So he's going to have a long way to go to get to that ultimate.
One of the issues is, though, that NYXL is running a pretty good anti-dive composition where they've got a Roadhog and a Junkrat back there. It can be very difficult to dive into that duo. And it's their whole map, really.
Gamsu just got bopped there by Sabiobi, though. That headshot not turning away from it, and there we go. Sabiobi connects with Dream Casper. Kelix will be there for the res. Arc is just bringing Libero back up, and his res is left and right, but Sabiobi getting zapped. Somehow he survives. That is no good, because look at this. He just keeps farming shots.
Sabiobi's grapple hook is broken. That's the second time he missed an easy grapple out of there on it. Didn't have to pay for it that time, though, but that's something that you want to get looked at. Maybe just needs to sharpen it, bring an angle grinder.
Well, that's where you got to give props, right, to the team who are helping him, like with the peel, right? They know he's in trouble. They know he's one of the key players here in this roster to make this formation work. Got to keep him alive.
Third point in Junkertown is so hard to break through. It just gets so claustrophobic. And yes, they're trying the dive, but I'm wondering who the dive target really is. You can't get back on Jonik because Libero and Miko are there to really help him out, and it's gonna be tough. Meko, I'm sorry. There's a Meko and a Neko in this game, and that's gonna be fun for us.
It's gonna get, it's gonna get a lot of fun. I hope to see them in the kill feed a little bit. Although that is a sexy hook right there, yanking him right out into the middle. Meko gonna take a breath real quick. And right now, I mean, they're doing a very good job just stalling this out in New York Excelsior. I mean, 2 minutes left on this clock. There's still time to work with here for Boston Uprising. There's the Dragon Blade, though, looking to get into the squishy targets, and sure enough, Dream Casper finally puts an end to Sabiobi.
Now, opened all that up is that I believe Neko took out Jonak on the other side of things, so that's a lot of healing, and more importantly, the damage boost from the Discord then out of the equation makes everything a little easier for his team to go in and have the confidence that they're not going to get melted down immediately.
So still trying to get through that U-shape, that U-bend. It's looking like they're finally starting to make a little bit of progress here.
See, this is good because when it gets around to this point, you can go underneath to start attacking as well, where going underneath, you're on the back end of the other team, so you might see different angles from Striker now that it's been opened up.
I'm curious, he's got that high ground. Looking to see if he can't find a squishy target, perhaps to get that pulse bomb onto. He's inching closer. There may be a chance here for him.
He's got the Zen in his sights right there. They dive him, Zen gets out somehow momentarily, then will fall.
Yeah, that's not for long. There is no joy here. Only, oh, the sick save from Libero. Thought for a second there Striker was gonna reign supreme, but they were having none of it. And Kalio's trying to, well, I mean, he's just trying to create some space, but he gets demeched so quickly, shouldn't be around for long, and sure enough, Sabiobi will be there to pistol whip him to death.
This is something that we've seen a lot from Korean rosters, is that you think they're in a tough spot, but they're just biding their time. They're just being patient. Kelix had come in with his own Valkyrie, but just after that Valkyrie started coming off, that's when Arc popped his, then they eventually have the numbers. They will just wear you down. Their timing is impeccable.
So you still have Meko to buy more time with the self-destruct. You can even just use that zoning. You're gonna push through. You've got 30 seconds. You don't have time to sit around and wait for that thing to go off. And so Dream Casper kind of darting around. He has his Dragon Blade, so we'll see. He's been very good so far at picking up kills when he uses his ultimate. Gonna have to see if he can continue to deliver here.
Well, the Dragon Blade's gonna have to get through two babysitters, which is Sabiobi and Libero. They're gonna be in the backline trying to deal with it. No flashbang comes out. He takes care of Sabiobi.
There we go, doing the damage, getting into the backline. Striker's there to drop Libero as well, and so the pressure is on. Kelix, he's been taken out though, so there isn't that much healing here to keep the sustain going for Boston Uprising. They need to be flawless in their execution at this point. They need to get the kills and stay on the cart, waiting for Kelix to just hoof it back. Exactly, he's already swapped over to Lucio to try and ferry him back even quicker.
There's been some great stall though, mostly in the form of Mano, who's been on the point, and now the last remnants of a push from Boston will all be cleaned up. It does not appear they're going to get third point in Junkertown somewhere.
Not fast enough, not fast enough. Great turnaround coming in here from the New York Excelsior. Boston not looking too pleased about that result. I mean, when you feel like you've got that much time going into point 3, you know, they didn't quite get it far enough.
It is kind of how Junkertown feels like it plays out, though. That last bend is absolutely brutal. There's no real flanks to go deal with. You can try to go upstairs, but it's a tiny hallway, and there's always a Widow up there. They always see you going there. It's not a very sneaky path, so you kind of just have to brute force it there towards the end. Able to get a couple kills on the dive and around the corner, and then you really want to take advantage of that flank underneath the stairs, but even that one is not great. You're under the stairs. They know you're there, too.
It's just about pulling them apart. You have to try and figure out a way to get those multiple flanks and take advantage of them to try and get that defense to start spreading out. But every time, New York Excelsior was so good about just keeping a couple bodies on the point, right? You still have to keep the point in mind, but then just funneling in one after another. You never really did get that big wipe.
Yeah, I thought going maybe a little tank heavier, maybe even more sustain heavier, something along those lines would have been good for them. They went dive, but you're diving into a McCree. And why McCree is good against dive is your flankers are Tracer and Genji. And they just get halted in the face with a flashbang. Tracer, of course, can't blink out of it. She gets one shot, she's squishy. And then even if you're avoiding the flashbang, there's a Junkrat back there, and Junkrat doesn't even have to aim at you to kill you. You're caught in traps, you're getting hit by mines, and sometimes just an errant grenade will take out a Tracer.
All right, so let's see how things shape up here. Second half about to start. We've flipped sides. Excelsior are now on offense. And sure enough, there it is. We've got Boston Uprising on the defense. Kalios is going to be the one going for the fishing.
This is a composition we've seen really come into vogue today, not only on Junkertown, but on several different maps. The Orisa Roadhog works so well together. You use the halt, it pulls them into a ball, and you can get the hook.
Yeah.
If that hook is off of cooldown, you can still set that up for a very easy headshot for your sniper. That's why you see it also run with Widowmakers and McCrees.
So, well, it does look like we will have the Bastion in play here for New York Excelsior. They're going to try and hop onto that card as quickly as possible. Need to get that shield plunks down as well, and they do in fairly quick order. And so now that aggressive hold that Boston Uprising had in mind, trying to take the fight to him early at least, they have to give it up. They have to give up the ground and back off.
Now, when the XL were on defense, what they did is rotate all the way around and try to come up top. It does not seem that same strategy is going to be employed by the Boston Uprising. Sabiobi does get a headshot in there, playing a little bit with fire. I think that he thinks this other sniper's over there, checking his corners.
You hear that dink go off, and you're just like, okay, hold your breath. Who got pinked? And well, I mean, Roadhog is going to be able to take a breather and get that health right back.
The Widow duel in full effect. They both know where each other are, so Sabiobi decides to just take a different path around it. So I think he might go for a grapple shot over the top. We'll see. Still action going on in the cart though.
Yeah, slow farm, nice hook there, but he gets caught, unfortunately, not able to take advantage, and well, that's a bit of a risky move to try and charge through. You're not invulnerable, Mecco. You can heal yourself. You're a big soak, but it's not going to happen this time. They are keeping a great presence on the point, however, and Boston Uprising not really able to get out there and challenge. There's that halt hook combo that you were talking about, and we've already lost Kelix for Boston Uprising. That's a big deal.
Halt hook, goodbye, and it's the most important target too. They took the Mercy out of that fight. No chance for Kelix to earn his way up to a Valkyrie. An interesting transcendence there, maybe trying to buy a little bit of time. Perhaps an ultimate they would have liked to have for the next fight. It might be switching.
It almost looked like he was trying to get out, right? But Mecco was just saying, no. You come back over here. You're not getting out in one piece.
Sometimes the best way out is through spawn. Just respawn.
Just accept your fate. And challenge just a little bit longer. Buy a little bit more time for your team. I mean, they're doing great on time right now, Excelsior. 4 minutes 30 left on this clock. And now they've got even high ground.
This is a great position for the offense to be in. This is generally where the defense wants to set up, and the jump in from Winston is going to be answered very quickly by all the damage here. And just gets scatter arrow.
Unbelievable. The self-repair for Jonak just keeping him alive indefinitely almost. That's unreal. Saviobi is just picking off, wreaking havoc in the meantime, and you're trying to focus on Jonak. You're trying to drop this guy, but in the meantime, you have the sniper just going to work.
The Boston Uprising has made Kelix's job very, very difficult. They're dying in very strange spots. You cannot go in and try to fly into a Winston when there's a Bastion camping the body right there. They had just used Valkyrie actually in that fight, the Boston Uprising, and you would have no idea that they did so.
Style points for Dreamcasper. Okay, you got a gold star. That was slick.
Sabiobi might want to switch off of this Widow anyway. He's going to do just that. Widow's not ideal for offense on this last point. You're going to give up high ground to an opposing Widow if there happens to be one. I think it's the right choice to go to a McCree.
So, we'll see if this is going to prove effective. Mecco, watching him, he's going to be the closest one to getting an ultimate here for New York Excelsior, and so we'll see when he decides, rather, to use it. They continue to press forward. I mean, they are making very good progress so far in New York Excel.
Their only goal right now is to inch this forward as much as possible. They really don't have a whole lot of ultimates to work with, so if they can bait out some ultimates in a fight, that's fine. But right now, they're just taking all the free push. No one's really even contesting the cart.
Yeah, they need to get in here at some point, Boston Uprising, and not to just die either. That's not part of it. You need to stay alive. Mecco just wrecks Dreamcasper immediately using the whole hog. And well, he's hungry for more. Of course, he's got his hook. If he can get the... Oh, this would be sick if he could land that on Libero or on Neko right around the corner. And there it is, the halt combo again. But he doesn't get the target he was looking for. Still handy dandy to get the D-mech, but you want that healer.
Yeah, taking the diva out of there is actually a really big deal because now Sabiobi's going to have all the targets in the world. There's no defense matrix. This Transcendence comes out aggressively just to try to push them back. They're throwing everything they have at this.
And Dreamcasper, he doesn't get anything out of his Dragon Blade. Mecco is there to find the pick, and you have Sabiobi in the background, just happy as a clam. I mean, look at this. Gets to go for the Deadeye to just zone them out as well. Another D-Mech. This is just everything going well for New York Excelsior.
It's not even been close. They're right on the cusp of finishing this, and the dive defense's biggest vulnerability is how many resurrections have you even seen from the defensive Mercy? And you're running Mercy here, you want to bring people back to life, they're dying in places where it's impossible for Mercy to get to them.
So deep. What fantastic work from New York. They just really kept it together entire way through on the defense and on the offense. I'm impressed. Boston Uprising, though, they had their moments, but we'll see if they'll be able to turn it around for themselves in the second map that's coming up right after this. We'll be back in just a couple seconds here, guys. We're going to run some ads. We'll be right back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel.
A league that offers opportunity for talented competitors to test and push our assumptions about how the game is meant to be played.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming at you live from Los Angeles, California. Welcome to the Blizzard Arena.
The Overwatch League represents a different direction than esports have taken in the past. A global community of professionals for a truly global league.
I absolutely love it, man. This is so sick. This is such an exciting year. I mean, look at that. How can you watch that and not get chills?
The prevailing feeling amongst all of us, and many of whom are admitted cynics, is that we're part of something special. And There's nothing else to say. This is going to be amazing.
Yeah, you can't help but feel awesome. And I mean, look at this. We got the full house here tonight. We got everybody here. They're going to be cheering for their teams. It's been amazing ever since we've had the opening yesterday, which was incredible. And we're just going to keep on going. No subs, guys. I've just been told no subs for either team. I guess that's kind of a trend with you and I, Hex. You know, when we cast a game, the teams just decide to keep showing us the same thing. They don't want to change it up.
Exactly. They want to make it simple for us. I think, you know, we're getting handicapped a little bit.
You know, I was thinking of becoming a New York Excelsior fan, but I'm on it. I get it. I get it now because they know that I want to watch Pine.
Yeah.
And they're keeping them away from me.
That's great. I didn't know you were such a Pine fan. I'd heard about Pine like 18 months ago. I got a message from a random Korean player. He's like, you got to keep your eye on this guy. He's one of the best hit scan in the world. I'm sure we will see him through the course of the league. We just won't see him on Horizon Lunar Colony.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. Gonna be very curious to see what the teams, what strategies rather the teams decide to use as we fly through the map. We're gonna be going towards that first point, the real first point that sometimes you have the high ground, you have the low ground, you see a variety of different strategies used to try and hold this one, and then of course you've got the second point. This is Assault, this is a 2-point control map.
The long walkway of doom as you try to get to the jungle gym area over there, the swinging tires. You know, you can actually throw a grab onto one of those tires and it'll actually hit up there. So you throw the grab up there and it grabs everyone, and then the tire goes absolutely insane. There's a clip of it. I think Calvin did it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The tire will actually catch the grab, and then people get sucked up into it, and then it starts going nuts because the physics in this game are just so wonderfully designed.
I mean, I absolutely love it because I think, what was it, like the Blizzard World map that's going to be coming out fairly soon as well? Did you see that, where it was like a Zarya attaching 5 torbs to the shark ride?
Yeah.
To the shark, and the shark just starts flying all over the place and flings torbs off in every direction. But yeah, I mean, there's
Wonderful.
Overwatch physics are really satisfying. I still have yet to get I haven't figured out exactly how to get the basketball through the hoop, though. I mean, it'll come eventually.
You can just cheat and use Symmetra. It's one of the only times you see her in this game anymore. Is so that I think it's just like the beam works on the basketball in some weird way. I don't know. I can't play basketball in real life, so I just want to keep Overwatch similar to my regular life.
I mean, we're gonna drop it. Getting a bit distracted here. A few things going on in the background, but I think we're fine now, and we are ready to get underway. New York Excelsior up 1-0. Out of these 4 maps to be played, we're on the second one now, and already is anything kind of catching your eye here as far as the lineups are concerned? I'm not really seeing anything game-breaking or strat-changing.
No, you definitely want that Widow on defense, and you see exactly why right there as Nako goes down to save Biobi. Was correcting that name, Nako. Dreamcasper comes in, evens it up though. Say Biobi now out of the mix. We've got a 4v4, turning pretty scrappy.
And it just keeps going back and forth. Striker removing one of the supports, removing one of the healers, and Dreamcasper. These two DPS are just doing so much work right now, one after another. They're getting the key frags, but it might not be enough. They still have the big beefy targets that they'll have to be getting rid of here.
Yeah, they're gonna res that up though, and as they come in, that is a mech call down kill from Kalios, one of the rarest kills in all of Overwatch. Smeko found himself out in no man's land and got a 2-ton treat from the sky.
Yeah, that's a lot of metal. That's not a good time, man. Pancake, think about it. First cap will go Boston Uprising's way, and now we move on into the second one where we shall see if they decide to change things up here. The Excelsior, I mean, on defense, we saw how versatile they are on Junkertown. And so moving in here, curious to see what they're going to decide to change up.
Boston should know this is their best window right now. This is how the assault maps work. Losing Kelix, though, absolutely crushes this plan. The DPS were going to try to get to the back line. Kelix was going to have his Valkyrie up, but that one kill changes everything.
It just stops them in their tracks. You can see everybody's just going to hang out. Side Boston Uprising, they don't want to commit without their healer. And yeah, you can hear her saying it, right? My ultimate is almost ready. It's
problem,
at 99%, and now she has it.
They were going to have about a 20% advantage, but now Arc and Jonak are getting there, and their support ultimates too, which are going to thwart the plans of the Boston Uprising DPS. Maybe not entirely, but Casper and Strike are going to try to get in here with Pulse Bomb and Blade.
There's about a lot of time, but Dreamcasper gets completely obliterated by Libero. That shuts him down. There was a real opportunity there, but not meant to be.
Instant res on both DPS, and both DPS failed in their task early on. Striker and Casper brought back up and now redeeming themselves.
And it's Libero. We'll see if he can actually find one of the squishy targets. He goes for the D-Mech instead, but not quite much damage. Not quite enough going here onto Kalios. He is still alive, and that buys him the time to get the self-destruct off, clear that point out, and keep the pressure going.
Striker on his second tour of duty is making it worthwhile. He takes down Jonak. There goes Mano. Casper back to life now on a 76. Has chimed in as well, and Uprising are crushing.
Wow, this is so much damage. This is the kind of hero play that we expect to see out of Striker. Player of his caliber, it's what we saw in the preseason. when his team needs him, he delivers. And right now, he's just pumping damage into the Winston, getting as much ult charge as possible, but he may not even need it. They're getting picked off one after another, and Boston, they hold. Perfect offense coming in here for the Boston Uprising. Very clean take on both points.
What faith that they have in their DPS players, because Casper goes in with Blade and gets rocked by a Junkrat mine. It happens to everyone.
Impressive.
The next kill that happened was that Striker goes down without any sort of effect. So both of the resurrections come in on their DPS players. And boy, did they redeem themselves. They absolutely crushed after that. Striker in particular. Man, it's Tracer's world. We're just living in it.
I killed 4 of them, man. I killed 4 of them, I swear. I'm just trying to, you ever do that when you get to watch the players like this? You obviously can't hear them, so you got to just imagine what they're saying. Yeah. Casper's like, but now, I mean, really, the question is going to be, does that, cause New York Excelsior to doubt themselves a little bit here? That was a very clean take from Boston Uprising. Things did not go according to plan. When on Junkertown, XL were able to put up more of a fight, a measured fight.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a defense was nearly non-existent. And they do actually look a little bit shaken. Look, you expect A to go pretty quickly. A is one, if you can hold off 1 or 2 pushes, you feel that's a super successful defense. B, you expect to hold a lot longer, much more defensive advantage.
Yeah, you get that high ground mix in as well. Well, you didn't really see too much of that. It felt just like a sledgehammer going in from Boston Uprising. They didn't really mess around. So now Boston Uprising swapping over to the defense, and we'll get to see if they are the ones who can hold here on the first point, or at least slow New York Excelsior up. New York Excelsior, they are opting to go for the Sombra, but I like the Moira follow-up as well. This could get spicy here for Boston.
The Moira is really cool. I don't even care if it works or not. I'm just glad to see Moira into the mix here.
Yeah.
The Sombra play we saw earlier today was absolutely brilliant, worked out very well. Raucus was playing that. Boston does very well on offense because the dive-oriented nature of their composition. They want to get into weird places and attack. However, on defense, it caused a problem for the resurrection mechanic. We'll see how it does here.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen this strategy before from New York Excelsior. I think the key here is that all of these guys are really, really, really hard to kill. I mean, they all have Tracer, Blink. What, you have Winston with the jump. You've got the Blink going on for everybody. I mean, Libero can just run in and go invis. The whole point is just to get onto that point without actually giving Boston Uprising a chance to slam him in the face. So this will be fun to see if they can actually get it to work. There are a couple of moving parts here that you're going to have to worry about.
Yeah, curious where these orbs are going to head for Jonak. He wants to actually hang out with his tanks, or make sure that they are kept alive with the healing spray. And they might just be waiting and charging up this EMP, because EMP still charges ultra fast, 60 plus already for Libero.
Yeah, we'll see. When they decide to actually take this fight, the tanks from Boston Uprising decided to drop down onto the lower ground, put a little bit of pressure here, not let them get too comfortable, and they are fully committing to this fight, just hopping right into the mix.
How are you going to kill these tanks with Moira all over them like that? A healing orb and the spray from her. And look, they're both alive. Both the tanks are Uprising now out of the fight.
D-Max Kalios follows his friend to the grave as well. And now you've just got squishy targets that don't want to be here. Kelix, don't worry, you won't be here long. Mono takes care of that. And now it's just up to, well, exactly, Striker trying to do the best that he can, staying alive on that point, but it's just not going to be good enough. A perfect offense. It was almost like they were baiting him. They're standing there taunting, like, come at us.
If you know what that composition is going to be, then Moira is perfect for it. She's the best anti-flanker support in the entire game because of that lock-on, the health drain. It's very difficult for a flanker to take a Moira on one-on-one, and even when you think you have her, she just blinks out of that situation.
She's got the life leech as well, which is actually maddening. So, I mean, well, let's see. Libero trying to create some space here. Looking for a squishy, gets the hack. I like that. No reflect possible for the Genji there. And hoping to find one more, but it's not going to be the case. Gamsu doing fantastic work right now on that Winston. 2 kills for him. Takes down Arc and Libero both, and that is definitely going to bring this attack to a halt.
It should be fine. NYXL are banking some ultimates. They didn't burn anything in that engagement there because they got left on so quickly. However, as I say that, the Uprising were able to win that entire fight with just the Dragon Blade. Check marks across the board for Uprising as they are ready for another ultimate defense.
Yeah, and the swap out from Dreamcasper, so we're going to get to see that McCree in play again, dealing with a couple of the squishies. If you can get that flashbang onto Sombra, she isn't going to be around for long. I always feel like that is the most cruel thing ever, though, when you demech the diva and you're stagger killing her and she's desperately running away and you're just heartlessly letting her run, giving her false hope.
Right.
I mean, that's some cruel stuff, Boston. Come on.
It's also a really good answer to the Moira, so she can't escape. The Coalescence comes out, trying to keep everyone healed. So far, it is a bloodless fight. They're going to double down. Sound barrier in somewhere.
Yeah, not really quite going for the EMP until much later in this fight. We'll see if it actually pays off because the ults have already come into play. 4 of them used for Boston Uprising already. And Dreamcaster, he is so fast. He has already got the Deadeye, but that's not going to matter because he gets pulse bombed into oblivion.
They might have gotten enough kills defensively. Boston has to hold on to this, at least for the moment. There's a Mercy up top, keeping Winston healed down below, but eventually, Meko comes in here and gets a couple of kills of his own. It just seems like this is taking too long.
Is Meko just trying to farm as much ult as possible? At what point do you kind of go up there and try to put some pressure on the Mercy, trying to change it up a little bit? Libero is there with the hack, trying to get that silence going. I do like it. He is going to get the free health back as well.
Dream Casper making life a nightmare for NYXL as he cleans up the rest of that. It felt like it just wasn't clean enough of an engagement. You want those assaults on assault maps to be full clean kills. You want 4 kills or 5 kills, something along those lines. They were trickling in their kills, and that's always going to favor the defense.
Well, this is a little bit later in the fight. I was curious to see just how quickly Dream Casper got that Deadeye, because that looked ridiculous. His entire team had ults. He was at 1%, and then you look over, oh wait, he has a Deadeye now. How did that happen?
Dreamcasper plays absolutely everything. He's a jack of all trades and master of a lot of them. To ruin the phrase, but be accurate about his play.
Fair enough. Usually you don't expect them to be masters if they're jacks, but I mean, getting into this, it is just the hold. Again, New York Excelsior, they're just getting into these kind of tight spots and almost just wanting Boston Uprising to commit to the fight, to run into the bunch of them where, I mean, you're going to have the likes of Libero. That's exactly where a Junkrat wants to play.
Well, they've gotten some good trades here, and that's a huge one right there to take down Calyx after they resurrected, say, Biobi too. Now they've gotten a huge advantage as far as the numbers go. They need to get out here and start pressuring onto the point, but the bodyguard and Winston is there. Do not want to let him get back in. A nice chase from Jonik.
There we go. Some of the style plays coming in here from Jonak. There was a lot of talk about him on the desk. Of course, you know, coming into this, he wasn't able to compete in the preseason. Now we're going to have the delay tactics coming in. Here, have a grenade, have a mine. And well, have a tire as well, why don't you? He's not gonna get he's not gonna get the elevation though to pick off Calyx, and that's so frustrating. Now, how do you deal with that Valkyrie Mercy?
Well, Calyx is gonna bring his Winston back to life. Libero simply chunking people down with the explosive prowess of the Trash Mouse and Junkrat right here.
There we go. You know what? You can't get a tire, you can't get a grenade, just punch them to death. That works too. Libero knows what to do at this point, and they won't. They don't quite get onto the point fast enough. Thought for a second that was going to happen. So, but I mean, really, it would have just been a little bit more delay.
Just a little bit. They were trickling in at that point. They've reached the tipping point of actually giving that up, but Boston with a much better time. Over 2 minutes advantage in their time bank.
Yeah, that's really that first point was remarkable stuff. The first and the second for Boston, they have got a massive time bank to work with, but I don't think that New York Excelsior, after seeing Junkertown, after seeing a little bit of this here, I think they will be able to get that grind on and they're not going to get too flustered.
Yeah, it was mostly their first attack. I thought took a little too long on the second point, where they just, it wasn't the clean kind of. I described this team as surgical nature that we saw before. They were looking around and unable to lock down the doorways, because once you get most of the kills, there's not a whole lot of exits in Junkertown on defense. You're either going left or right through a tunnel, and so if you can put people on either side there, you can pretty much box them out, much like a lot of other assault maps. Unable to do so, took too long, and the longer a fight goes on, the worse it is for the offense.
Yeah, you get ground down, you have a longer run back from the spawn if you aren't getting rezzed up by your Mercy. Yeah, it can get painful, but the countdown has begun to get into the second half here. Well, again, we are just going to be swapping over. It's tied 2-2 so far on this map, and it will be New York Excelsior on offense again, and it looks like they want to rinse and repeat. They want to run the same strategy that they used last time. One thing here that we're going to get to see is how do they decide to change it up if Boston aren't going to bring the fight to them.
Right, but in Boston needs to change it up by not bringing the fight to them. The
Fair point. It works both ways.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a two-way street.
The problem is if you don't take the fight to them, then eventually they're just going to get EMP and you're waiting for the optimal time to do that. So you either bring it to them quicker or you don't bring it to them at all. It seems like they've opted for the former.
Dude, you got to give it to Libero. He is so good at getting these hacks in. That's a very quick DMAG. Dream Casper now trying to buy time, but he's running low on HP himself. There's the reflect. He does manage to dash back, but that's not going to be good enough. Save Yoli with the blink and bonk. And now, well, already capping point.
Yeah, they're already in there. They lost Jonik early in that fight, but it didn't matter because they still have 2 quasi-supports. Lucio, the full-on support, of course, that is his role, but when you've got hacked health packs, it might as well just be another healer.
Contrary to last time, though, it looks like there will be the challenge. They were able to get Gamsu in there fast enough to delay it just a little bit further, and keep in mind, New York Excelsior, they do not have as much time as Boston Uprising. Every second is valuable for them, and this is some great delay coming in here from Boston Uprising. They know that they can throw themselves in here and try and buy just a little bit more time.
They are going to buy themselves time, but it is at the trade-off of feeding into those ultimate meters on the NYXL, and because of that, you're going to have some ultimates coming on board. More importantly is probably going to be the sound barrier. You can combo these in any which way you want.
Now, how does Libero, how does he decide to use the MP? There we go. He finally gets it off. Does he get it off before the big ults come into play, though? The trance is in. Kelix will have Valkyrie soon, though, and that could be the game changer here. That longevity for Boston Uprising to snuff this push.
A little bit stunning that post-EMP they get almost 0 kills. Now the kills are coming in, but Kelix will enter in the Valkyrie mode and negate both of those.
Yeah, that's the big thing. You really needed to just drop that Mercy, take her out of the fight quick. And now it's just going to be a matter of exactly backing off, playing for space here. As you can see, Savioli kind of dancing around the corner. Dreamcasper doesn't want to let him in. He gets the reflect kill. And that's going to be it. A very fine hold coming in here from Boston Uprising, despite the fact that it looked like New York actually had quite a few cards to play with there.
I'm a little bit interested how it's going on. You start to question, is the target calling correct? Because post-EMP, for them to get nothing when the other team has no abilities up, no recourse for exits, and then when it all fades away, then you start getting kills, it's kind of the same thing that happened last time. These fights are taking longer than expected, and that's why they're not successful.
Now, once again, we find ourselves in the side room here. This is New York Excelsior's home. They are comfortable here. They love it being here.
Oh, I thought you meant the moon. All right.
It's kind of cold on the moon. Guess what happens when you go in here? This is big! There we go, Savioli caught out in the open from the self-destruct. Nicely played by Kalios. And that's going to start the fight off strong here for Boston Uprising. You know, turns out they're a wrecking crew after all. You know, here's your home. I'm not interested in it. I'm going to blow it up.
Yeah, and this is getting especially brutal because they're just going to let Meko die without his mech, ironically enough, and one more push coming in. They get a tick. They do have 33%, so there is some progress on last point.
Meko has got his as well, his self-destruct that is. Very curious to see how he decides to get that into the fight because now they're out of time. 2 seconds left and they are no longer allowed to leave the point. Meko, you gotta be careful. That is gonna start ticking down faster and faster. The wick is burning. Dreamcasper is slicing, and this is looking grim. Boston Uprising, they are looking like they have a fantastic defense here on Horizon.
They had every ult in there. There's no use to not use them there in the very last fight. And it was all Boston here on the defense. Only 33% progress for the NYXL on their second attack here on Horizon Lunar Colony.
Stopped cold, and we have a fight on our hands here. So look, perhaps they're just trying to change up the order a little bit. You know, it's been a lot of, you know, you win, the underdog wins the first map, and then the reverse crush just comes in.
Yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on here. You know, it turns out Boston Uprising, they don't like the rest, X. Exactly. They don't like everybody else here. They like to keep you on your toes and guessing. And so now, well, they have a very strong chance at actually picking up this map and giving themselves a chance. We're going to play the 4 maps.
I think you're right, though, at least in the overall scheme of things. Boston is one of the most confusing teams in all of Overwatch League. When they announce that, everyone's like, well, they're going to be bad. Then they embrace the fact that they're underdogs. And then they come out with some performances on maps that are amazing, and sometimes they're not. It's just, they are a giant question mark, this Uprising team. They've got talent across the board, but
this is what's so exciting, though. I mean, look at what we have with Philadelphia today. Another question mark, right, where everybody's kind of writing them off, not really sure how the roster is going to work. Turns out when you put really skilled players together, magical things can happen. And right now, I mean, we're getting a good show here from Boston Uprising, at least on this second map. They're showing that they've got some fight. And, well, we have a variety here. We have a change in strategy. It will be that Orisa barrier going down to protect Savioli on the Widow, and so Savioli just looking to dominate this open space and start picking people off from Boston.
And Boston's just going to try to dive into this with both their DPS, with their highly mobile tanks, but they're going to be met by Libero up there as well. So NYXL does still have a chance to win this map. They need to prevent first point being taken and then prevent progress in second.
Hard hold for 5 minutes. Whoa, there's the headshot, though. That burst damage between Libero and Savioli, that is brutal. And there we go, the follow-up. Savioli's just going ham right now. Sick plays. That's it. The beauty of hit scan. It's so clean. It's so pure.
It was a little interesting that Kalios went right up into that knowing that his other tank had just died. Didn't wait for the resurrection to come through, because ideally you want your D.Va and Winston to at least go together to help each other out. And now they're just walking into sight lines for Savioli. He is making them pay for it.
Did you get the impression that, you know, Gamsu was just like, wait, I don't want to go outside, but they were just pushing him out into the, you know, because it looked like for a second there, he just got stuck in the doorway, like, no.
Wait, there's no oxygen out
There's
there.
the Widow out here, please. I mean, That was just a little bit brutal, but I want to see more.
Yeah.
I want to see more. And look at that. There's the change. Kamsu turned around so that Savioli couldn't get the headshot. I love it. That's what you got to do, but unfortunately, caution it a bit close there. Zenyatta out in the open. That could have got Grim.
That is how the dive is supposed to work. They've executed it much better this time, and you see it now paying off as they're getting a couple kills. I believe that was Pilot Diva came in there. Resurrection will come off and bring NYXL back to full strength, and Libero liberates them from their lives.
Yeah, he's like, it is painful to be alive. Let me take care of that for you real quick. With
Oh, you're so French. Existence is pain.
I can't hide anything from you, X. All right. So we got to reset again. 3 minutes left on this clock. I mean, that's the beauty here for Boston, at least. They have so much time.
They do have a lot of time, but it starts to get a little nerve-wracking because they were able to roll through early on, and now this sort of composition seems to be giving them issues. A nice Dragon Blade kill started off, though.
Oh, yeah, but there we get the trade. The Riptire right back into it. Dream Casper is no more. Striker, though, finds the key pick on Savioli. It's going to be a question of whether Arc will be able to get the res or not. He has gone for the wings. And so Mecco just trying to stay alive as best he can. Not going to hit the hook.
Yeah, they're going to back off of this because they know that they just had Valkyrie burned out from the other team. And when you have your own Valk and you know they have 0% on theirs, it's a fight that you should be winning unless you make a mistake.
Yeah, very curious to see if that mistake is going to happen because Kellex has gone ahead, pulled the wings out. We still have Transcendence. Jonak has decided to use his, however, but Kalios with the monster self-destruct. He got the bongos, but that's big. That's a lot of damage getting wiped out.
That should be it, barring some enormous hero play from NYXL, which does not seem to be on the way. Again, still not over. Now we're tied 3 to 3 1/3 here for New York XL. Boston still has some progress to make on the last point.
Exactly right. And no McCree coming in. Interesting. All right, so it will be the Tracer fight here. See if you'll be deciding to take the fight to Striker, perhaps. And Libero will be staying on Junkrat, but that's fine. You can stay on that high ground, get it up real there, real high, just rain down traps and concussive lines, and, well, just a bunch of unhappiness for your opponents. So we'll see if he manages to make that work. Striker on point, gonna go ahead and get that tap. They're just past 33% on the point here. Boston Uprising, they don't have to get a whole lot, and so New York Excelsior, they can't let stuff like this happen. They have to get test that.
You don't want to give any progress for free, but most importantly, you don't want them to set that bar at 33. They need to get to 40, but they won't reset beyond 33. Already kills, here comes a blade.
Oh yeah, and Dream Casper, he has been pretty good about picking up at least one frag with them. Looking for the Diva, and sure enough, he'll find her. This is gonna be it. We've got a match on our hands, Hex. Boston Uprising are gonna tie it up 1-1.
Safe to say I'm surprised. The Boston Uprising have played very well. It's a map type that maybe some teams aren't comfortable on, but look, period, they were just a better team on Horizon Lunar Colony.
Yeah.
There was no doubt about it.
It looked like they had it dialed in, even with New York Excelsior. Coming up with some of the clever strats. I do always like to see Sombra in play. It feels like it really spices things up. Moira as well, right? But not quite enough. It looks like we're gonna go ahead and throw to the break now, and then we'll hear what the desk have to say about these first 2 maps after that.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
My ultimate charge. Double. Double. Check me out. My condition is improved. Double. We need to defend our objective. I will watch over you. Yes.
Up first, we have to introduce the Boston Uprising.
A lot of pressure on these guys.
There is depth to this team that people did not expect to see.
My personal goals for this season is I want to be best teammate.
I want to be the best main tank player in Overwatch League.
Wow, Boston just destroying Shanghai.
My personal goal is to get to know my team really well and show people we can go really far in this league and not come out last place.
Wow, great play actually from Dream Casper.
Right now, I think it's very possible for us to get into playoffs.
You can see they can be a very competitive team.
For now, Boston Uprising is weaker and not popular, but I think we have potential to be the best.
They're young, they're scrappy, they were able to pull off the victory tonight. That's a look at Boston Uprising. They self-describe as a scrappy squad, and they lived up to it with a big win in game number 2. That ties up our series currently at 1 apiece. Welcome back to the halftime show. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, joined at the desk one more time. We got Bren, we got Crumbs, and we got a lot to talk about, starting with game 1 here, as we saw different looks on Junkertown attacks, but both teams finding success, Crumbs.
Yeah, and the success was a lot due to the defense from both these teams, because they both decided that instead of defending at the first shed, which is typically the place to go, they're just going to defend pretty much a bid house at the bridge. This is what we see from the Bastion's perspective on actually both sides, because they both end up pushing like this. And in these payload maps, the goal is to get time. So you defend at the first map a little bit closer so that when you die, you respawn, you get 2 defenses on this one as opposed to just getting steamrolled, as we see both teams falling for the same thing twice.
Do you guys want to see the Hanzo every Junkertown?
I'm a big fan of it, personally. I like Hanzo as a tank buster, right? A lot of people don't really realize that he's got that sort of built into his kit and his utility, but his scatter arrow does a crazy amount of damage to tanks. It can really just burst them and blow them up. But he's also very effective at building up his Dragon Strike off of them, because they're high HP targets. You can spam into them often, and it's got a lot of combo potential as well, especially in more choke pointy maps.
Not just that, when you have the Bastion with the Orisa and the payload, and you have Hanzo and Widowmaker combined, you offer 2 very far back targets for your Mercy to actually just fly into safety. So they're basically her safety nets that she can just bounce back and forth to keep herself alive and always go back to the Bastion in the middle.
Now, of course, New York, they walked away with a victory on Junkertown, and there was one guy that Brent and I were just like, oh my God, how is he putting up these numbers? Sabiobi had a rough preseason. He's showing up big in the early rounds.
He did indeed, and he's shown up tremendously so. I mean, his statistics across the board, I was really paying attention to his Widowmaker stats here as we entered this map, and they are absolutely crazy. 63% scoped accuracy, 90% crit accuracy. He's hitting 63% of his shots, I should say, with only 6 deaths to his names and a whole bunch of limbs. But what's more impressive was when I took a look at his McCree stats, because he also played this in the exact same maps. If we take a look at the McCree statistics as well alongside it, you can see a bit more of a difference, and it is very impressive. 40% or 40% weapon accuracy on McCree with the 10% critical hit accuracy as well. But really what is the key piece here is the amount of deaths. Only 2 deaths to his name when he's on the McCree. A very safe passive playstyle, but still getting the job done.
So when we watch this man, he's hit scan. That means wherever he's pointing his crosshair, the bullet is instantly going to connect as soon as he hits that trigger. So let's talk about the heroes that we've seen from him. He's shown us a McCree. He's shown us a Widow. We've seen some Tracer. 2 more maps moving forward. You're tied up 1 apiece. What do you put him on?
I mean, I feel like you stick to what you're tested on, what you know. We know he's a brilliant Tracer. We know he can perform on Widowmaker. The meta is certainly developing towards Tracer and Widowmaker. I can't really see him flexing too much off those roles.
All right, enough about Junkertown. It's time to move on to our second map. You just witnessed it, and it was Boston walking away with the win. Let's go to our insights, powered by Intel, as Crumbs breaks down our first attack.
So for the Horizon attack here, what's really set the tone was the speed at which the Boston Uprising was able to take the first point. And we saw the New York Excelsior defending up here in the high ground 2 games in a row. But this is the first attempt. But what you notice how the Boston Uprising attack is that they decide that they're just going to jump on through with the Winston, with the Genji. And this is already the second attempt because you can tell that Neko is already dead. Dreamcasper has very little HP, but what they're going to do is they're going to go for it once more from the flank. Dreamcasper's going to go from the stairs, and the Winston's going to come back and bop some people down alongside Kalios. And it looks so clean when you see the execution time together. Look at Winston there, knocks them down. Dreamcasper's in the bottom, cleans house with 2 people, and the rest is history. The time here was so fast that when the game went to overtime, it was so much more in the favor of Boston with like 3 more minutes.
5 minutes and 7 seconds. That was the time left on the clock. Incredible stuff moving forward. And you saw Dreamcasper. He's running the Genji. When we do our caster 6 stacks, we got Brenji here. I've never seen a flank executed as well as Dreamcasper has.
What can I say?
Bren's play.
What can I say? I got a few owl offers. I had to turn them all down, unfortunately, to be on the analyst desk. My Genji is on another level.
Glad you took the pay cut for us. Let's talk about your play, though, Brent. Of course, we highlighted Boston's attack, but New York had a pretty solid one as well. Very unique composition for theirs.
Yes, this is primarily what I want to talk about, the composition, because it is a very unique style of gameplay. And you notice they're running the Sombra, they're running the Moira, and they're also running Sabayobi on the Tracer. And the whole play style around this composition is going to be basically hacking up the health packs using Moira's kit, building up that EMP as fast as possible, and then trying to force the fight onto the low ground with those high mobility heroes using the EMP to win the subsequent team fight and eventually take the point.
And I felt like Boston did not recognize very quickly what the New York were trying to do because they decided, hey, we're just going to jump in and fight them right away, as opposed to buying some more time for themselves and letting them go for the attack. Because again, these games are about timing. The more time you have in your bank, the better you're set up for the subsequent rounds. And luckily, they were able to buy just enough that they had so much left over that it didn't matter.
I like this fan. I like his sign. Shout out to that guy, and shout out to everyone who came out to the studio here today. We are 2 games into the action, and already this is turning into a fantastic rivalry. Boston versus New York. Our first 2 games are done and dusted. When we return, though, we're going to conclude the final match of day 2. Don't go anywhere. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel.
The dragon awakens.
overview. Double. We need to defend the objective. I will watch over you.
Looking forward to seeing what Pine is bringing to the table.
He's an old school pro and he came in with a bang.
전에 쓰던 이름은 그냥 치킨이었습니다. 그래서 좀 닉네임이 좀 많이 후져서 그거 바꾸고 파인이라는 닉네임을 썼었죠.
The Riptire coming in from Pine. Let's see what he can get. Oh, finds two. Gets Kellex and Dreamcasper.
Oh, Pine, just a bit of aerial acrobatics there and a touch of finesse on the finish.
나? It's me? 제 플레이는 좀 많이 공격적인 스타일입니다. 굉장히.
Now Pine's starting to feel it. He's starting to flex on these nerds right now.
어떤 팀을 제일 상대하고 싶은 팀은요, 보스턴. 보스턴과 저희는 굉장한 라이벌 관계입니다. 스포츠 쪽이죠.
If you couldn't love this guy before, that fire line, it's me.
It's me.
How baller is this guy? This is amazing. Pine, I can't wait now. He is going to be playing in the game. There have been subs now, Hex. They finally broke the trend. We're allowed to talk about different players. And so Pine, he will be moving in for New York Excelsior.
Yeah, he's going to come in. I believe we're going to Ilios next. So Ilios is also a map that you want to run, maybe a Widow on. He's got a lot of heroes that he can run as well. Janice will also be coming in for Control. And of note here, Note will be coming in for Kalios. I didn't mean to do that, but okay.
It's nice of you to note that. I mean, you got me. Well, let's just go ahead and fully go through it. So Mano and Libero will be sitting out for New York Excelsior. That's the subs for them. And then Kalios will be the one who's taking a bench here. But it looks like we are going into Ilios then.
This has to be a little bit worrying for New York XL. In the preseason, when they faced against Boston previously, they won 3-1. The one map they lost was not Ilios per se, but it was Oasis. So the style of map, the control map. So if Boston comes out here 2-1, and he starts sweating a little bit, because I don't think anyone really predicted the full-on upset. I think everyone's already like, hey, Boston, people are already taking notice that they took a map off of NYXL.
It would be big because, right, you have Philadelphia. They kind of upset him even against Houston, right? I think everybody really reasonably expected
that's just
Houston
how they
to
do
win
it,
that
man.
one. But
that
you know,
is how they do it.
Exactly. Philadelphia, they got work done. But this would be big just because I think most everybody is expecting the Korean teams to just dominate in this league, to be the real, one step above everybody else. And if we could start it off day 2 with a massive upset, I mean, how sick would that be? Huck would be unbearable afterwards. But I mean, it would be fantastic to see that, to get things rolling here. The countdown has begun, and we'll be hopping into the map in just a moment here on the first point. And so, I mean, do we have anything crazy to start this off? Let's take a look.
Does not look crazy necessarily. I think this is one of the big reasons they wanted to bring Pine in, not only for when you get to Ruins and you want to run a Widowmaker there, but you want a Tracer on every control map ever. But also his McCree is one of his best heroes, and I think they're assuming, correctly so, that Boston Uprising are going to run a Pharah with Dreamcasper, and they are. So that is the micro battle to watch. Pine's McCree versus Dreamcasper's Pharah.
Yeah, it's going to come down to real awareness here from Dreamcasper. He can't give Pine any lines of sight to work with. Arc going to swap over to the Mercy, no shocker there. We definitely want that res in play, but we do have Lucio for Neko, so that's interesting. A little bit more of a rapid team here. They can get around the map just a little bit more quickly.
Yeah, it lets you get and take these mid fights away. That positioning is so superior right there. Now they're just going to to rotate around to see where the other team is, and they're just straight up bully them out of that because of that speed boost.
And this, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's what you're giving up by not having a Lucio. Of course, now you have damage, discord, and everything with your Zenyatta, but that's why Lucio still played on control.
Yeah, great positioning there to start from Dreamcast, but that was like the money spot to be, exactly where you want to be, not giving Pine you a shot really to deal with. Now he decides to get a little bit more toasty here, a little bit more aggressive, and he may pay for it somehow. He does find a frag. Well, that was a D-Mech instead. And there you go, Pine. You show up in front of Pine, you give him a chance to shoot your head off, and he will.
That is one angry chicken right there. Sorry, Pine. I think it's a good name change. It's a good name change from Chicken to Pine. He is off of the bench with a vengeance. That is 4 eliminations in that fight from him.
This is exactly what we kind of expected to see from Pine. He is one of those beastly players that you just have to worry about, and you're going to have to try and deal with. And so now we have to see, do they decide to stick with it? I mean, obviously they have so much energy built up now on Dreamcast, he's going to want to get that barrage in play. So we'll see if he can find that angle. You're looking for that flank with the Pharah, trying to get into the back line to blow a couple people up, and he didn't waste any time at all. He's already used it, and he does manage to find Jonak, so there's a strong start here for Boston.
Jonak brought back to life, though, as Arc has used his Valkyrie. Kellic still 10% away from his own Valkyrie. They give up that point for free, though, and that's something you don't necessarily want to do because it can be difficult to bring back. However, with this full team wipe, they should be regaining percentage control.
This is ridiculous now. I mean, between Saviobi and Pine, when the pro players are saying, oh, it's the tank and support meta now, these guys are just like, hold my beer, fam. Yeah. Let me go ahead and just go wreck this team real quick. My guys are all dead, but that doesn't matter because Pine has still got my back and we're good. All right, that is unbelievable.
At the end of the day, pointing and shooting is still a valuable skill in Overwatch. Tank play, smart play, all good, but you gotta hit those headshots, and that's exactly what these two are doing.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, Boston right now, I mean, now it's just going to be about catching their breath. They need to try and figure out a good way to deal with these guys. Pine with the zoning Deadeye buying so much time, and he even gets damage in as well. So we'll see how this pans out because he's going to have to try and play that careful angle. Saviobi does force the Primal Rage. That was a great Primal Rage from Gamster, just keeping himself alive. We'll have to see if he can get anything out of it, though. And, well, Pine is just insufferable.
The dynamic duo, Striker was getting shot from the backside there, then it was forced into Pine. Pine flashbangs him and deletes him with one swift click to the head there. And now going after a little bit more, flashbang and deleted. They're still in strong control, and right now Boston has to decide if they're going to back out or try to keep contesting this point. I don't know if they have time to back out.
Yeah, it's starting to get a bit grim here. 95%, and Pine continues to reign in death and destruction, just doing so much damage to Gamsu that he's forced to give ground. And, well, they're very close here, Boston Uprising, to pick up the point. They've only got 24%. They need to do everything they can, but Pine continues to reign supreme. Another Deadeye from him so quickly. Doesn't find the frag, though.
Flashed and fanned, though, was that Winston. Now they're going to have to back up, and boom, Pine wins the duo at the OK Corral in that room.
What is this?
This is bonkers.
3 kills. Let's get a 4th. Why not? Gamsu's just going to sacrifice himself, and he finally takes down the beast, but it doesn't matter. Pine created so much space. They couldn't even get in there to stop the point from rolling over. All right, Pine, I believe him. When he asks who's the best, yeah. Okay,
he's making a case.
He's making a pretty strong point here. I mean, Boston, they're like, oh man, I'm feeling so hopeful about this, guys. It's going so well. Pine's like, no.
So used to people who can talk the talk but don't really walk the walk. That man is walking the walk right there.
He might say that he's strutting. Strutting? As chickens do? Never mind. All right, so moving into the next one. I mean,
don't peacock strut. I've never seen a chicken and be like, that chicken looks a little smug with its strut across the yard.
Are you kidding me? This coming from you? I mean, you practically grew up on a farm. Chickens strut. They run around like they own the place. Pine does. You gotta pay rent to Pine, man. Everybody here. All right, well, enough about that. Let's move on because now we get into the second point. Countdown has begun to the point unlocking. And so Pine just kind of figuring things out here, where he wants to try and make his next play.
Casper has gone on to the Pharah again, and we're going to see how long he wants to live this life because he's going to have to try to deal with Pine. You can do it. Well, not that time he can't, as he gets disconnected from his Mercy, finds himself in Pine's crosshairs right there. And they continue to get... He's so aggro on this McCree. He rolls in, somersaults in. That's another 3-kill life for Pine.
Okay, so in the span of 25 seconds, he gets the Deadeye! All right, I can't even finish my sentence before he kills someone else. This is unreal. All right, so it took about, like, what, 20 seconds, 25 seconds to get his ultimate? That's absurdly fast.
Watch this. He's going to go up here, and what he wants to do is try to set up for a Deadeye for that first moment that he sees the Pharaoh Mercy peek out around the corner. It's a good angle for it. In fact, now he's just not going to be patient enough to do it. He just wants to be on that high ground there. And now, where are your Pharaoh Mercy ever going to come from? They're actually off of the Pharaoh Mercy. That's how much he punished it.
They're just like, okay, enough is enough. We need to find a way to deal with this. And Dream Casper has swapped over to the McCree, so we'll see if he can have any impact here. They were touching the point for just a little bit, but they're so scared of showing themselves. This is such a fantastic position for Pine to be in because he controls all of this open space in front of him. And he's just putting the fear of Pine into him right now.
There's no way to really deal with him. You can try to dive this. Like earlier we saw a team dive Logix who was having a good game on McCree, but he's just punishing every step they take. That was 3 quick hits right there.
Yeah, I mean, he's already up to 29% on his ultimate, and so this is a bit of the Pine show right now. I'm sure somebody's going to be able to step up and do something about it soon here because we're up to 60%. Boston, you need to make a play, and that's one way to do it. Striker taps the point, tries to draw the attention back to the point, trying to draw somebody out of position here. We'll see if it actually works, though, because, I mean, New York Excel, they don't really seem too concerned.
They will not be baited. However, that's a nice opening kill from Casper to take down Jonik there. He got around on the flank. Speaking of flanks, Pine is trying to catch them on the way back out. Calyx out of this fight, unfortunately, and he had Valkyrie ready.
I mean, let's see. There we go. Finds Gamsu in the back. We're just following it. They're just, they don't want to have anything to do with this, man. Note, there is no sweet way to go here. He wants to end it painlessly. Pine is merciful in the end. You know, it's scary to drop. Okay, a bit too dark. But I mean, dude, this is unbelievable. Are they going to be able to get anything done, or is it just going to be a complete and utter shutdown? They are not even able to get in there to tap the point to delay things further, Boston. They got completely rolled.
Pine put them in a box right there. That was amazing. That was the best McCree play I've seen in a very long time. Why was that man on the bench? I mean, all due respect. My goodness.
Yeah, that you got to feel good right now. If you're New York Excelsior, if you're the coach, you're just like, hold on. So we can play 2 maps, and it's going to be close. We're still going to look pretty damn good. And then we're going to go ahead and put Pine and actually just end this. Like, we're going to go to a break. Couple minutes, guys, and we'll be back for the 4th map in this series, and we'll see if Pine's reign of terror continues.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel.
So NYXL just won that map, or maybe let's just say Pine won that map for his team. And it's been a very interesting series so far. Boston Uprising really showed up as well and performed. And I had a chat with Bear Hands, he's the director of player development on Team NYXL, and I did ask him, how are you guys gonna defeat Boston Uprising? What are you focusing on? And he said that they mainly focused in preparations against this team on anti-dive. Now, if we're looking at Junkertown, yeah, the composition from Boston Uprising was a little bit surprising, threw them a little bit off, but they actually managed to stabilize again and win the map. Now, on the second one, it really didn't work out for them on Horizon. Like, their anti-dive did not stop Boston Uprising, who managed to tie up the series. And yeah, let's just see what they have in store for us as we're heading into the fourth map. Give it up for those guys, and now back to our casters.
All right, thank you, Zoe. I mean, that's the big thing, and she's exactly right. We didn't really see too much on the second map, on that on the assault map. What, hide it? I'm just gonna put it back on my wrist. There we go. Bracelets, they're cool. So yeah, I mean, really, that was just the story of Pine in the third map. I think he kind of sucked all of the air out of the room and really just showed that when he's on the server, it's his server.
Yeah, and in classic New York style, the first taste is free. The rest you're gonna have to stick around for as Libero comes back in for Pine. We only got the teaser trailer of the blockbuster that is Pine's McCree play, but Libero's a good player in his own right.
I mean, this just gives me more respect for New York Excel, right? They felt like it was a little bit unfair, just beating up on Boston a bit too much, being bullies, and they're like, no, that's not who we are.
It's not how we roll.
Exactly, that's not how we are. You know, we're gonna give them a chance. And so going into New Bondi, we will see now if Boston are able to recoup after that crushing loss, or if they're gonna, you know, continue to just be on the receiving end of the pain train.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of like, don't make us angry, otherwise we're gonna have to put Pine back in, guys.
This goes to game 5.
He's the enforcer, he's the bully. If it goes to game 5, in all honesty, they probably will put Pine back in.
Put Pine back in, look what he just did on control.
Because it'll be a control map if we do go to game 5. We are here in New Bonnie. A map that can go the distance, or a map that can get locked off right at first point. That is the nature of hybrid here, Semler.
Yeah, and we've seen some interesting, I mean, this is always fun. The first point, I really enjoy watching it because you get to see some clever strategies come out from the teams. It can be frustrating when you're on the offense. You can get shut out, and I think that's also what makes it interesting. In fairness, if you have a really solid defense and you execute well, you can just shut teams out on New Bonnie. And so it's always, you never quite know what you're going to get on this map.
Of course, you end your journey in New Bonnie at the Heritage Museum there. What better way to end a day than a nice museum trip? You're a cultured individual. You've been in plenty of museums in your time.
I have, yes.
Nerd.
Many museums. The Wax Museum, I think, was particularly
interesting. Oh, yeah, we gotta get to that one out here in Los Angeles.
No, I'm joking. I've never been. Okay, so moving on. You know, the thing that I'm wondering about now is, like, is there some kind of message here? Because they're no longer transporting the gauntlet. Now it looks like they're transporting a bomb. Is that all it is, really? Is it just a bomb that's to go boom in the museum?
Yeah, there's bombs in museums, undetonated ones, you know, to bear witness to the folly of man.
Or one of these days it's going to be a container and it's just going to like, it's going to get patched and the container will have fallen open and it will show a clue for the next game.
Ah, yeah, spoilers.
Let's go.
So I think NYXL has kind of gotten a read on Boston, and Boston have been pretty much just running dive. At least they're defaulting back to that dive. Of course, 2 flankers, highly mobile. You get in there and you try to get some work done. It's worked well on their offense, not so much on the defense, but not always what you want to run on New Bonnie. It's good on New Bonnie offense, but look, anti-dive already queued up for NYXL, including a McCree and a Junkrat.
Yeah, they clearly have prepared well, it seems. This is their game plan. They're going to stick to it. We're not seeing a soldier coming out here for Boston Uprising. It's a strategy that we sometimes see here on teams as well when you get that high ground, but it is pretty pure dive coming in here from Boston Uprising, and they are looking to try and create some space here. Nope, looking for his chance to just go boosting in. Doesn't want to waste all of his defense matrix, though. You're going to need that when you start getting shot in the face by Savioli on that McCree.
Yeah, he's taking a lot of damage, too. Getting chunked down, gets discorded and hit with a couple of those. Just can't find his right moment to get in there, and it's almost taking a little too long to set up this dive. At some point, you just got to go.
I mean, when you've got a damage boost in McCree who just keeps hitting shots. Look at this. This is ridiculous. He's up to 76% already, Savioli. He's going to have a Deadeye when this first push comes through. And Kelix, well, there it is. I mean, they decided to just farm up the Valk, get the wings out, and have the res for the push because Striker, he's already used one of them.
Yeah, they better make this work now because they get blocked. A beautiful reflect. High noon back in your face. That's midnight into Saviobi.
Oh, that's so sick. That was the big play. Dreamcasper couldn't have done it better. He gets clipped in the end as reward for his good work, but still, the damage is done. They are still contesting here, New York Excelsior, trying to hang in there, but it's got to end soon, and eventually it does. Note, with 2 kills at the end, finally snuffs the defense, and we will be moving into the payload portion of this map.
You know, it's a bit of a bait, and I think I got a little baited too. They were sitting down there just eating all the damage on the D.Va just to charge up that ultimate. And then they decide, well, we were thinking about going in, but now I'm at like 50%. I'm getting 20% every couple of seconds. Why don't we just wait for my Valkyrie to come up? And they used that precisely, got in, were able to take first point. Good play, Boston.
Yeah, allows for Striker to just be over-aggressive, really get in there and dive. Oh, surprise, surprise, Striker.
Tickle, tickle.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, wow, I need healing. Get out of here. You got a mic to ask your healer for heals? All right, never mind. Right now, this is still going to be his Striker. I mean, he is kind of still hanging around the point with his team, not really getting too far away. We see some Tracers like to go on their own, kind of create their own plays. But hey, if you're just going to hang around here and pulse bomb Janus into oblivion, that works too.
It was actually one of the knocks that you could put on Boston was that Striker was playing a little too alone away from the rest of his team. He seems to have kind of reined that in, is playing around the rest of his team, playing with his other DPS a lot closer, but that is all for naught as Echo had gotten in there, got a nice self-destruct at the very least, but this is some weird positioning happening now. They're pulling all the way back.
Yeah, they really are. Not going to challenge even here at the bend. I feel like there might be a chance for him to do so. Janus is hanging around the corner, waiting for the rest of his team to group up. I guess they're waiting on Libero to get back into the fight. He does have his Riptire. Quite a few ultimates in play here for New York, so this should be a fight that they should just crush through, although we do have both support ults for Boston Uprising.
Yeah, Mecco had gotten enough done that they're able to come in here and at least contest second, so they just don't want to fight around up that hill around the bus. They'll wait for that second bend right now, but it does open up the flank from Dreamcasper. I wonder if this Tire finds him. It does! Heat-seeking Tire.
There we go. Kelix, you see him just slowly drifting over there, though, and he will get the res off. So Dreamcasper back into the fight, but this is the Valk used very early, and guess what? Arc is still holding on to his, and so it's a question of when Arc decides to deploy the wings.
Yeah, a lot of patience right there. It might be right now as Libero falls in this fight. They do bring him right back to life, as they do Janus. Both of those resurrection charges now used up. Deaths will be permanent from this point on.
Yeah, Libero manages to take out Dreamcasper again, and Libero doing big work, getting the DMAC as well, and the follow-up on Note. Note not able to do anything here, and the cleanup, it's vicious. They get completely rolled in the end, Boston, and I think a lot of that has to do with the Mercy ults, the staggering. The fact that Arc gets to hold on to his longer means that you'll obviously get to stagger that chain heal.
Just extremely patient in that play, and the Junkrat is so good at anti-dive. Not only does he shut down flankers, not only does he just one-tap Tracers, essentially. A damage-boosted Junkrat will one-shot a Tracer, but when the tanks come in, the mines disrupt them so much. It knocks them off the course. They're launched into the air, and they're easy pickings for the rest of it. Happens to be McCree's sniper on the rest of it.
Oh, boy. Oh, that is so styling. Libero. Both concussed mines, but it doesn't matter. He stays alive and dodges that ultimate. Sick play from him, and now he's got the Riptire as well. We'll see when he decides to use it. Nope's just barely getting out of there in the nick of time, and here it comes. The Tire looking for a target, and he could find one. There you go, Neko.
And Neko in the back line did not see that one coming, and now the cleanup is there. A Note just finally fall. They will clean up the rest of it, and this point still contested means that spawns have not moved forward. Boston trying to get those last few meters, unable to do so, and now they're gonna have to reset.
That is where it makes you kind of sick, you know, that you're so close. You just see a couple of meters there on the progress bar, and as you guys can see, that payload, if you aren't touching it, if you aren't Boston, right, you're not on it, it is going to start slowly backing up. You start losing ground, and so we're going to have to see Boston try and come up with a play here, start pushing this payload forward again.
They've done a really good job of watching this flank because Casper's not switched up. This is the second or third time he's tried to come into that right side. Now they know where he is, and it's just going to be a matter of tracking him throughout the rest of the fight.
Yep, just keeping an eye open, listen for the audio cues, and sure enough, Saviobi looking for him. I mean, this is good by Dream. He is still trying to draw Saviobi out of position further back from the fight. But I mean, eventually he's going to have to do something here, Dream.
Yeah, he does actually draw them all the way back, but Deadeye's going to be there. Casper's going to try to knock this down, and he does. Gives his life forward, though.
Again, and exactly, Arc is there, but Kelix, the trade on the reses, and we have both DPS back in the fight almost immediately. Gamsu locked in place, nowhere to go. He gets caught by Libero. And well, so far, now there it is. That's the big play. Saviobi with the flash. Dreamcasper shut him down once with the reflect, and now he gets a taste of his own medicine.
they've just had him completely on lockdown. It's not that he's playing predictably, but they know exactly what he wants to do and when, and he's been a non-factor in the last couple of fights, so much so that Casper has given up the ghost on his Genji. Will try to get this last push going with his own McCree.
Now we're down to just mere seconds now left in this pool. 10 seconds left. You just got to dive onto the point and hope, cross your fingers that you'll be able to turn the tide. Libero, perfect position, however, for him to hang out with the Riptire and snuff him as they try and push forward. Wow, they're cutting it pretty close here. Playing with the Wick as well.
Now they just got to get a touch in, and now they've already lost 2. Nako now gets brought back. That means Striker's permanently dead, as is Casper. And barring a miracle self-destruct from Notes, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, this is pretty much where it all ends, although we do have the Primal Rage getting used by Gamsu, trying to buy a little bit more time. I like the self-destruct as well. They are finding kills. You can't get too sloppy, Excelsior. If you start giving up these frags, Boston can still have the Outlast sustain to stay alive on this point if they're dealing with your squishies alone. And sure enough, nobody here. Finally, the Transcendence comes through just to buy a little bit more time, just to contest it.
Transcendence and Valkyrie both popped here to make sure that everyone stays alive and healthy, even through death. Another Deadeye trying to zone them off, and that cart has got to be burning down quick.
Gets the frag on Striker. The Wick is going to keep getting slower and slower. Sabiobi, another big frag for him. Both Striker and Kelix fall to the guns, and he's getting healed up as well. This might be the moment, because that Wick is not going to last long if somebody isn't here to tap it, and sure enough, they will run out of time, Boston, and they do not look too pleased with the results. Gamsu did the best that he could. You have to give him props. He did the best that he could to buy time at the end, but it just wasn't enough.
One of the big questions about Boston coming into the regular season of the Overwatch League is what happens when Plan A goes wrong? Plan A essentially being their composition, which relies so heavily on the Tracer and Genji play of Dream, Casper, and Striker respectively. And when they've had to come off of that with this very well planned out anti-dive defense, they've not looked quite as good.
It's a question of how quickly can you adapt. But this is also something that was brought up, I mean, many times now about Boston. You know, players that perhaps are lacking a little bit of the experience, right? Still trying to figure it all out. So this could be one of their weaknesses, where they're not going to know how to adapt right on the spot when you're sitting on the stage in front of a crowd of fans.
Finding their way through the world, who's the in-game leader, who's going to make these calls to switch things up, that things have to go this way, and maybe still waiting for that voice to emerge.
Mm-hmm. Very curious. I mean, it's exciting times here at Overwatch League. It's going to be a fantastic year because we all have so many things to learn now as well. You know, how are you using subs properly? You know, coaches have a lot of options now with these rosters. And while it is going to be a very long league as well, so a question of stamina comes into play as well. You got to think about it like a marathon. You can't get too hung up on the first days because you still have many more to come. But I mean, a win here, starting strong, that would mean everything for Boston. They are perfectly capable of holding here on the first point and taking us to a 5th map.
Absolutely. New York was playing a little bit there with what they were going to run offensively. We'll see what they want to bring out. Does seem like the Excel are running a very standard Numbani defense. It's not a dive defense necessarily. What happens here is you sub in an Ana for that distance healing. You sub in a 76 for that distance damage.
Mm-hmm. So now we get to see how quickly are they going to be able to push forward here. You got Janice already taking point. And Libero on the Pharah. This could be fun. Libero can be beastly with the rockets.
Yeah, a very versatile player, and he's going to come around the backside there, already get some poke in. Those damage-boosted rockets do sting, and everyone has to back all the way off. It's a question of if they can even get some pressure to pull them back, because as we saw in our earlier set, you don't want to just walk up the street against this kind of firepower.
Yeah, they don't really. Where is Dream Casper? I mean, he is going to be the main answer, I imagine, along with Ana to try and deal with this Pharah. It's just a tap on the point, trying to draw him out. I'm liking it from Libero, creating a little bit more space for himself, and he has repaired. Now he knows where the soldier is coming from, and you can see instantly trying to put as much pressure as possible on Dream Casper. He's coming pretty close to picking him off, and there it is! Dream Casper walks right into a rocket, and this is now where it starts to get a little bit complicated here for Boston. They've lost one of their main players.
And they had just used the resurrection on the Ana as well, and Ana can actually help to chime in and deal with that Pharah. But you can't deal with a Pharah when they're that far back. You almost don't have an answer. You just sit there and take it, and at a certain point you have to try to come in and fight against it. Kelix gets discorded and deleted. They're going to need a couple kills. Striker trying to bring this back.
He had just valved as well. That was a big kill. Oh, the snipe! Jonak dropping Neko at a distance, and now, I mean, well, you have both supports that are pretty much dead. Kelix is hoofing it, trying to get back here quick, trying to keep his team alive, but Libero is obliterating them with the rockets, and Zonak, here we go. Now we're starting to get a bit of the master class from the Master Zenyatta.
Yeah, if you've been on the internet at all the last week or so, you've seen this man Zenyatta clips. They are a daily occurrence. Striker did his best there, ended up with about 3 eliminations in that fight, but Libero played it so far back for a while, then finds himself this great position. Justice reigns both indoors and out. Picks up a couple tank kills.
I like that, when you're decisive. It's like, actually, I could try and get you with another rocket and delay things and get greedy, but no, I'm just gonna go ahead and barrage you in the face where you have nowhere to go. Dreamcast, but not really loving life right now. It's a bit tough, it's a bit grim. And the payload progresses forward now for New York Excelsior. But I like this from Boston. They are challenging fairly early here, at least. They do have Note trying to at least contest that point.
It's right on the edge of being able to fight here and lose and then get another fight in, or you're very close to losing one decisive fight, loses you this map.
So we've had the swap off of Farah. Libero now on the soldiers, a little bit more range damage. Janus has found his target, and he completely shuts Kelix down. This is big. They don't have that much room to work with here, Boston. They have to stay alive, and Neko getting tased.
It's not just if your Mercy dies, it's the order in which she dies. She cannot be the first target to go down. That is all the healing, all the resurrection available. Gone. And the New York XL will walk it home on Numbani.
3-1. Final score for New York Excelsior. It seems like that has been a trend today. And they did not disappoint. I mean, nobody could be disappointed with Pine's performance, but I think that everybody else, you know, they really did show that New York, they are a team to reckon with.
And you got Safe Yolby in there, considered their Tracer ace, but he put on a clinic as McCree, and then Libero can play absolutely everything. This is a team that I think not only was the mechanics great, their game plan was sound.
It sounds like, I mean, we got that thanks to Zoe there coming into the match after the halftime, where she was giving us a little bit of insight into what's been going on with this team, and it did sound like they had a game plan. They'd done their homework. They knew exactly what they needed to do to get the win here versus Boston today. But what's going to be really fascinating now is to see, right, you know, Boston, you got red. What are you going to do about that? How are you going to change now? Are you going to be able to change quickly? It sounds like the desk is ready now, so we're going to go ahead and get to hear from them their thoughts on this series, the last one of the day.
Thank you so much, fellas. Everyone in the audience, give it up for Semler and Hex. Fantastic call for another great matchup. Boston versus New York. The rivalry continues here, but just like last time, similar outcome. New York coming out on top, and I'm sure that made our 4 fans who drove from New York City to LA to watch this match happy. Also, big shout out to everyone that gathered at the Waypoint Cafe in my former hometown of New York City. I love bar crafts, where everyone just gets together, watches the action. It's happening here in Overwatch. What do you call that? A bar watch?
Bar crawl, pub crawl.
Oh, all those pub crawl. I like these. We're just talking about random stuff now. Let's talk about video games. Game number 3. It was epic, and for one reason. We only saw Pine once, but when he did get into the match, he made some statements. Let's take a look at some of his best plays as we went to Ilios. We asked the observing team, who do we want to watch coming in? Well, we all wanted to keep our eye on Pine, but I didn't expect to be watching him this long, Bren.
Yeah, this was absolutely incredible, to be honest. His performance was beyond what anyone was really expecting with him coming into this. I mean, Semler was really picking him up quite a lot, but it was honestly phenomenal. He was hitting so many heads constantly throughout this entire game on the McCree, an absolutely dominating performance. He was really just showing everybody what was up on Boston Uprising, and you know, you may be thinking a few question marks in your head. Well, why would they actually swap him out for map 4? We'll get to that a bit later, but Pine as a whole, we've got some statistics to show you as well as to really just break down why he was so strong.
All right, Brent, as we take a look at some of these stats, Crumbs, I wanted to get just your thoughts on Pine's overall performance.
Well, on the control point, it was close to perfect, really. Being able to play McCree, it was 42% on his weapon accuracy, which is pretty stellar. But the fact that he was able to create so much space that the Boston Uprising was not prepared for, clearly picking the Pharah into him was not a very good idea. And they just were not expecting. It really felt like they had no idea how to deal with such an accurate McCree.
You're running your Pharah into Pine. That quickly changed. Dreamcaster's like, well, I can't run a Genji either. He's got flashbang. So absolutely shutting down game number 3 was Pine. You saw the numbers there, and the one number you guys may have missed, he had 18 eliminations. 17 of those were the final blow. He was picking up 17 of his 18 kills. solo, basically.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And the 2 deaths to his name. That's even more impressive to me is how little he actually died.
He gets res, he's right back up. He barely had any downtime.
Shout out to the healers. New York wins map number 3, and then they continue to roll in our final map. As we went to Numbani, we were really impressed with the start from Boston, but then they really started to fizzle out on that second point.
Yeah, it was an impressive start by Boston. They got a decent amount of time bank on their side, but they were actually really struggling in the ult economy game, and that's basically using your ultimates in the most efficient way possible. But Boston were kind of just throwing them to the wind in a lot of ways, whereas New York Excelsior were really on top of their game. And not just that, it was also the positioning of where they were holding.
Exactly. The ultimate staggering between the supports, I think, was really stellar between Jonak and Arc, being able to have Trans or Valkyrie and alternate so that one can grow the bigger ult, but holding in this high ground right before the payload actually caps for the second point gives you the best amount of time to be able to defend. And here's where we see the offense of Jonak. This is really the one time we got him popping off. He didn't do a whole lot for most.
We saw him a lot in the kill feed, but we didn't always see it from his first-person perspective. Speaking of Jonak, that's where I want to end this conversation. How did we feel that the new support played? We didn't get a chance to watch him during the preseason. Now with him back in the lineup, you saw Libero back on the DPS role, Pine on the bench. How do you feel the team performed overall?
Better, but it's clearly not the solo queue highlight Jonak, right? He does not have as much space to be going for these crazy kills because there's going to be people trying to kill him, so he has to actually play the support role as opposed to be going for what we expected out of him. But hey, still a good performance for the first time.
Absolutely. And Bren, real quick to hit on Boston Uprising. This is a squad that they mentioned. We're in development. We're working towards being a top team in Overwatch. Did they improve since the preseason?
Absolutely. This is a team that's been grafting throughout the holidays. They didn't take a break. They've been practicing non-stop. You got to respect that straight up. And we have seen improvements from this match. They were looking a lot better. Striker was definitely putting on a very good performance. Even a few shining moments from Gamsu himself.
Gamsu was great, but Pine was our HP player of the match, presented by Omen. Let's take a look here. Omen by HP, sponsoring this fantastic highlight once again. We had to show it to you because Pine is simply amazing on the McCree. And if you're the coach of New York Excel, you're looking at this footage tonight, and you may be rethinking the rosters you're putting into action in their next match.
Well, this is just your flex, right? We're having Pine as the player of the match, even though he played one game only. Yeah. That just shows New York saying, here's how strong we can be. Anytime that any lineup exceeds Pine, they're thinking, okay, how are we going to deal with him? So it just adds that extra element of psychological warfare to every team that plays against the New York.
I'm going to watch this highlight all night long. Big shout out to Pine. He is your player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. Let's close out the night. We've now seen all 12 teams, and we have our standings updated. This is the first time we're updating you with the overall standings, and it starts with the Atlantic Division. New York Excelsior right up there with the London Spitfire and Philadelphia Fusion, who surprised us with a big win over the Outlaws. They all stand up top at 1-0. And the other side, in the Pacific Division, of course, we have 3 more teams sitting at 1-0. That would be the Los Angeles Valiant and the LA Gladiators, joined by the Seoul Dynasty. Dallas Fuel starting off rough against the Seoul Dynasty in a fantastic match yesterday, but tomorrow we get a chance to see, will they get revenge? It all starts at 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. Pacific time. Make sure you check out the Los Angeles Valiant going up against the Dallas Fuel. And remember, tickets are still on sale. If you want to come watch it in person, we got a few seats left. Go over to overwatchleague.com and pick up your tickets tonight. I'm exhausted. I know the whole crew is, but we're going to see you in just a few hours for day number 3 of the regular season. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.